What about you specifically made him think that you could sell ice to the Eskimos? I mean, what stood out about you?
I guess I must have shared stories about growing up with him. One of those stories intrigues me to this day is that comic books, right?
Yeah.
So when we were growing up, uh, it was really a lot of fun for young kids growing up in a poor country like Jordan to be exposed to the rest of the virtual world through comic books, kind of like kids going on social media nowadays. We don't have no social media. So when I got my copy of Superman or Batman or any of those things, I would go through it, and to me, it's like being in a different universe. It was a mental break from the difficulties that we lived in a poor country ravaged by civil war and things like that. Here's what's interesting. To buy a brand new copy of Superman, it was 5 piasters, okay? In Arabic, we say khams qurush, 5 piasters, right? So where am I going to get the money from? So I managed to get enough to buy my first issue, right? So once I had it in my hand, I leveraged it. I rented it to my friends who couldn't afford to buy it. And I recovered my capital and went on to buy the next one. So I had a thriving business, buying brand new copies of comic books and renting it to my friends and also maintaining the inventory. This is probably at age 8 or 9. Okay. As I grew up and reached like into my teen years and became physically strong, I went to work in construction during the summer. So as soon as school was over, I would go to the construction sites and work. And I remember one time I passed by a construction site and there was a pile of sand that needed to be carried over to the higher floors of the building. It was being plastered and so on. So I negotiated with the guy. I must have been 12 or 13. I negotiated with the guy to take that entire mountain of sand into all the rooms in a 4 or 5-story building. And he said, how are you going to do that? I said, that's my business. How much would you pay for that? We negotiated a price. I went and I hired half a dozen of my friends, supervised them while they're doing it, paid them off. They were so happy to make money. And I took the rest of the money, put it in my pocket. I became a businessman. I wasn't even 15 at that time. So these kinds of things that I did naturally, it was just intuitive at a very, very young age. Mm-hmm. Later on, I shared those stories with the counselor, and he's like, man, you need to be in business.
SubhanAllah, SubhanAllah. It's being in business, you ended up entering one of the toughest and most competitive fields for business, which is real estate. Mm-hmm. What would you say, especially in those early days, was your first big win? How did you learn how to be successful and good at this? And maybe to back that up, like how did it shape the way you tackled this challenge of one of the most thriving real estate markets in America, which is our Northeast area?
What I'm going to share with you is so simple, but it's not simplistic. And a lot of people would not understand that what differentiates you from everybody else is not a lot of things. It's sometimes just the one thing, if you figure out what it is. I learned from Gary Keller later on, from our chairman in Keller Williams, that you only need to be one step ahead of the competition. 2 steps is a wasted step. One step. So like when everybody had a regular for sale sign that had their company name, I put my name on the sign, so I was 1 step ahead. When the other associates put their name on the sign, I put my picture on the sign. Except the way I did it, and this is the photography part of it, I figured out how to use halftone screens. I digitized. There was no digitization going on. Yeah. And if you took a picture of a home and you put it on the copying machine, it came out smudged on the other side. So I figured out that there's a way that you can buy halftone screen, which is a plastic screen you can buy in a photography store, and you put it in the Polaroid camera in front of the film, and when the light went in, the resulting picture was actually a digitized image. That when you put it on the copying machine to make hundreds of copies, the picture that came out perfect. It was a beautiful picture of a home rather than the smudged pictures that everybody else was sending. So I differentiated myself by digitizing the pictures of the homes. I also knew photography, so I took better pictures to start with. I had my own equipment. So not only did I take good pictures, but I also managed to digitize Polaroid shots, black and white Polaroid shots. And that made, in addition to me being a good writer, I wrote really good text. I told a story instead of giving an address and a price. I said, here's the story of Mrs. So-and-so who lived in this house for 50 years. We bid her farewell. She is now going to Florida. Wish her good luck. And now we are looking for a new neighbor in this neighborhood. I mean, I wrote a piece that people wanted to read.
Yeah.